Просто называйте Харе Кришна.
Hare Krishna, I'm standing at the entrance to our Festival of India here on the Baltic Sea coast in Poland. We actually hold a festival every day for 2 months, except on Mondays. Very satisfying to the heart because people get an experience of the wonderful world of Krishna consciousness. Rupa Goswami has a verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Tabhajana Kriya Anartha Nivritti Siyat. That's half of that verse, where he describes how people take up the process of spiritual life, of Krishna consciousness. Interestingly enough, he says, Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. Their Shraddha, or their faith in the process of Krishna consciousness, comes about as a result of associating with sadhus, associating with devotees. So by coming to this festival, people get the opportunity to associate with devotees. We're from 14 different countries around the world, and the way that we engage them is, well, we have so many different tents depicting the different aspects of Krishna consciousness, and we have a stage program on our big stage going for 5.5, 6 hours an evening. Generally, people can't sit for more than 2 hours. Most movies or theaters are 2 hours, so how can people stay here for 6 hours? Because the entertainment is very nice. We try to increase the quality every year. We have different theatrical productions, different types of things we present on the stage. And if they get a little tired, they can get up and they can wander around the festival site. And we engage their senses in the process of Krishna consciousness. Rupa Goswami says, somehow or other, get people to start practicing Krishna consciousness. So our senses are the way we come in contact with this world, and the same way our senses are the way that we come in contact with the spiritual world. So engaging your senses in material life means gradual degradation, and engaging your senses in spiritual life means gradual elevation. So here we have many tents where people can see on the main stage, the theaters and the puppet shows and the different dances, etc. They can go to the prasadam tent, the restaurant. They can taste prasadam. They can hear the chanting of Hare Krishna. They can touch the saris and the different parts of the festival. In this way, their senses come in contact. And what is the result? Krishna consciousness is very potent. Just like if there's a live wire somewhere, there's a storm and a telephone wire falls down from the telephone pole. If you touch it, there's an immediate reaction. So Lord Chaitanya's formula for this age is as potent. It really is. We find that people come here and they have that experience, and maybe they don't understand everything at first, but it's a different experience. You could say it's a spiritual awakening, and their faith in the process begins to awaken. So they come back every year. Or they buy books and they take them home and study. We distribute or sell a lot of japa beads. People are chanting. We go to their homes afterwards. We cultivate them. So this is, you could say, the initiation process, the initial step. Confucius said, the longest journey begins with the first step. So this is the first step into the Goloka Vrindavan. This is more than a festival of India. This is a festival of the spiritual world. And in order to make it attractive for the people, we innovate a little bit. Innovation is required from time to time as the years go on, the decades go on, the centuries go on. Vaishnavas have to be innovative to be able to attract the people into the original tradition. We have to be a little bit innovative. So we're very innovative here. Prabhupada was innovative. He presented Krishna consciousness in a little more liberal way, you could say, than his own spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He allowed ladies, Vaishnavis, to live in the temple. Men and women went out on the streets and distributed books in Western dress, like that. So many ways Prabhupada innovated. So we also have to innovate without compromising our original tradition. So that's kind of our motto here. Blend ancient spiritual culture from India with a little bit of the West. For example, on our stage shows, we blend Indian music with Western music. We have ballet. We use hip hop. You know, we're very, very innovative with the idea of bringing people in, making them feel comfortable, so that they can get the deeper message of Krishna consciousness. Where did I get this from? This spirit of innovation? Interestingly enough, from one of the most staunch devotees in our disciplic succession, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was very innovative. Therefore, I'm very bold in innovating. Prabhupada told me personally, he said, Indradyumna Das, at that time, he said, you preach boldly and you have faith in the holy names. So bold means to present it in such a way that people will take it up. So how innovative was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Would he put on festivals? Because Prabhupada told us he had big, they called them exhibitions in those days. How innovative was he? Well, beyond riding in motor cars and wearing Western dress, which he did, and speaking in English, he had these huge, huge festivals. And in order to get the general public to come, for more than just hearing a bhajan or a discourse, but to get the masses of people to come, listen to how he innovated. This is where we get our ideas from. This is from Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava by another staunch devotee, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. It's the chapter called Theistic Exhibitions, pages 355 to 356. This is from Maharaj's book. Exposition was divided into two sections, spiritual and secular, with items collected from every part of India, and the whole extravaganza covering more than 1 square mile. The secular division demonstrated miscellaneous departments of human endeavor, medical, educational, agricultural, arts and crafts, cattle and livestock, child welfare, athletics, and several amusements. Bear in mind, this is a festival like we're having here. Several provincial governments sent materials to be displayed. Other attractions were performances of athletic feats, such as gymnastics, wrestling, boxing, sword, stick play, and jiu-jitsu. There were musical competitions, dramas, film shows, a circus. We haven't done that yet. And in the words of the harmonist, quote, other varieties of innocent amusements. So when we innovate here, we consider them innocent amusements. Prizes, medals, and certificates were awarded to deserving exhibitors and performers. We have a long way to go in innovation. The spiritual section was even more elaborate. A museum contained figures of Vishnu and Krishna and other religious objects, such as items formerly used by reputed sadhus. A book display featured volumes produced by different religious sects in diverse languages and manuscripts of rare unpublished religious works. There were photos and paintings of eminent sadhus and sundari sacred places. A major draw was a huge relief map of India occupying over a third of an acre, constructed on the ground with stone, cement, and brick, and showing prominent holy places, the locations of all Gaudiya Math branches, and the routes of Sri Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda's tours. Dioramas, which is one thing Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati specialized in. Dioramas in over 50 stalls depicted manifold religious praxis of India, or places, with emphasis on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. The practices of pure Vaishnavas, pseudo-Vaishnavas, and other religious sects were illustrated by life-size dolls set against backgrounds of appropriate painted scenes, many representing incidences in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Another novelty for numerous visitors was the brilliant illumination of the entire grounds by recently installed electricity. That's innovation at its best, so we employ that in a tasteful way because, after all, this is a family event. This is the coast, the northern coast of Poland, the beaches, so naturally families come here. So our festival is done in such a way as there's entertainment for the children, there's entertainment for the teenagers, there's entertainment for the adults, and even the older people. We have something for everyone here at our Festival of India. Everyone can come and experience in their own way the wonderful world of Krishna consciousness. So we hope that by seeing our presentation you can imbibe some of these ideas in your own towns and villages and put on a big event like this. We've been developing this festival, of course, materially and spiritually for over 30 years. And one time my dear godbrother, B.B Govinda Mahārāja, came and he saw one of our shows and he said, "This is the greatest show on earth." I said, "I don't know if it's the greatest show on earth," but afterwards I thought about it. It's big, it's professional, it's colorful, festive, it's devotional, but the most important thing is that it's devotional, it has a message. It has a message, and people come and their senses are enlivened in various ways, and ado shraddha tata sadhusam bhajana kriya. After some time, we find people taking up the process of Krishna consciousness. So the longest journey begins with the first step. This is a genuine first step in people's spiritual life in a very pleasant, entertaining, and devotionally satisfying way. The Festival of India, the Festival of Goloka Vrindavan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna
So this is the Pottery Tent. I don't think you see many pottery tents at Hare Krishna festivals, but again, we want to keep people, so innocent amusements as described in the Harmonist, the magazine of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's mission, Gaudiya Math. This is an innocent amusement where people can come and we have a devotee whose livelihood actually is making pottery. And here he engages, especially the children, in making a pot from clay. And while they're there, it's a little philosophies, thrown in, simple living with high thinking. And in old days, even here in Europe and Poland, people used to make their own handicraft. So a nice way to engage people, making their own pottery. They take it home, and in the midst of it, they hear a little bit of philosophy, and it helps add to the ultimate goal. This is perhaps my favorite. This is the book tent where people can come after getting this experience, Ado Shuddha Tata Sadhu Sangha, to Bhajana Kriya. By coming and associating with devotees and the way devotees live, and seeing our culture, people naturally become more inquisitive. And they kind of naturally are drawn to the book tent where all questions are answered. Prabhupada said one time, the chanting of Hare Krishna is particularly potent when heard from the lips of a pure devotee. So when Prabhupada shares Krishna consciousness, the effect is immediate. Sometimes I'm giving my lecture, 40-minute lecture, and in the back of my mind I'm thinking, my spiritual master said, what will your 10-minute lecture do? But if someone reads one of my books, reads a sentence even, then their life can become perfect. So we feel this is the result. Just like all rivers come to the ocean, all the exhibits and all the performances and the association people get here, the perfection of visit, the people flow to the book tent and they take a Bhagavad Gita or teachings of Queen Kunti or Upanishad of one of Prabhupada's books. So this is one of our goals here at the Festival of India. This is our yoga tent where people can come and learn the process of Hatha Yoga. We're a movement of bhakti yogis, but we dovetail Hatha Yoga because, well, people are very interested in it these days, and many of our devotees are experts. They're Hatha Yoga teachers as a livelihood, as a means of livelihood for their families. But and then through the process of Hatha Yoga, we teach them that it's a ladder, Hatha, Raja, Jnana. It culminates in the yoga of love, Bhakti Yoga. Connecting, yoga actually means to connect with the Supreme. So in the beginning we control our mind and senses so as to not be engaged in material life. Once that's done, we can focus on our spiritual lives and connect to God through Bhakti Yoga. But no harm in doing Hatha Yoga ourselves, no harm in teaching people Hatha Yoga because it makes one healthy. Physically, mentally, intellectually, it makes you healthy and strong. And didn't Prabhupada sign his letters? He would always sign his letters, hoping this meets you in the best of health. Your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So Prabhupada didn't want devotees to get sick because if you're sick, you can't perform devotional service. So one way to remain healthy, a natural way, part of our tradition, part of our culture, Vedic culture, is yoga. So no problem in practicing or teaching because it makes us healthy, so we can perform our devotional services without any interruption. So this is the Indian makeup tent, face painting. In ISKCON we call that gopi dots, where people can come and get their faces painted. What does it have to do with Amala Bhakti, pure devotion? Not so much, but it's another innocent amusement, as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's magazine called it. Just a way for people to come and be entertained and stumble across the books, stumble across the questions and answers, and to meet devotees. It creates a nice atmosphere, the Vaikuntha atmosphere. They can get their face. Many of our ladies from Russia and Ukraine are very talented as musicians, as actors, as dancers, and as painters. So the best gopi dots are actually painted by our girls here. You'll see how nice, how beautiful they are and everything. So just another innocent amusement to keep people here and make the Krishna conscious experience fun. East is east and west is west, and never the twain shall meet, but they're meeting here. And people like it. And they can go to the tent nearby and they can put on an Indian sari, wear it around the festival the whole evening, and kind of get that Indian experience or that Krishna conscious experience, all part of the package. Krishna's all attractive. So this is the theater tent, the puppet theater. This is especially for children. As I mentioned earlier, a festival means this is a festival for the family. When we did the Woodstock Festival, when we participated in the Woodstock Festival, it was mainly young people from 20 years to 35 years. But this is the coast, so families come. So we have something for everybody, and we have puppet shows for children. Of course, the theme of the puppet shows is Krishna consciousness. We do Krishna's pastimes, but there's always a little moral in there. We get a lot of ideas from Walt Disney. We go to Disneyland and we see how they market that, and we dovetail those things in a Krishna conscious way. Again, we try to make it at a very high level, like the Disney World people do. But the kids come and they really enjoy. And I find that when the children are enjoying the festival, the parents are enjoying the festival. And these are 3-day events. In each town we stay for 3 days. So I've been told that by the parents that it's the children who dragged the parents back to the festival. So another innocent amusement, but Krishna conscious, very Krishna conscious, because the puppets are Krishna and Balaram and Radharani and Jatila and so forth and so on. So even at that young age, they get an impression in their own way about Krishna consciousness. So a family event, something for everybody. So several times I've quoted the verse, Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Nabhajana Kriya, that the whole process of Krishna consciousness initiates it. It begins when one comes into the association of devotees and learns about their lifestyle. What we're presenting here is actually the lifestyle of Krishna consciousness, the lifestyle of the spiritual world of Goloka Vrindavan. So people come and it's something different. It's something very, very, very special. It's spiritual. They're actually getting a spiritual experience. They may not know that in the beginning, but naturally that leads to bhajana kriya, which means inquiring. Like if I'm interested in your lifestyle, I want to practice it, what do I do? It comes to the point of asking questions. I was listening to a lecture recently. Prabhupada said, human life actually begins when we start asking questions. Who am I? Where have I come from? What happens to death? Does God exist? That's your birthday. So we find as a result of this event that Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu, the bhajana kriya, people inquiring into the techniques, the process, what is a guru, that naturally comes about. So another place where people kind of flow into, older people, adults, is the questions and answers tent. And here we have a seminar on the side called The Art of Happiness. Everybody wants to be happy, but this is a life of duality. So we're experiencing unhappiness and tragedy. Everyone has their story. So I find people really gravitate to either one of these tents because all questions are answered in Krishna consciousness. There's that book we have, Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. And in my studies of theology and philosophy, they have some ideas, with all due respect, but not as deep as Krishna consciousness. Not like Lord Chaitanya introduced the idea of going back to the playground of God, Goloka Vrindavan. One can have a very loving, intimate, loving relationship with God. People are hankering for this knowledge. So this is a very, very important part of our event. The book tent and the questions and answers, Art of Happiness, this is where people really become connected, and they write down their addresses and their telephone numbers and emails, and we keep in contact with them and we cultivate them. But they really find this festival to be a high point in their year. Many people tell me, because we've been coming for 30 years, to many of the same towns. They consider this to be a high point in their year. They come here, like we go to Vrindavan to get spiritually surcharged. Prabhupada said Vrindavan's for inspiration. People come to this festival for spiritual inspiration. They have a deep experience. And they share that with me. They tell me that. One lady came the other day and she said that she'd been coming to our festival for 20 years. She woke up that morning and said, I think it's time for me to buy a book. What was that book that man always talks about, Bhagavad Gita? She came here just to buy it. She came at the end of the festival just to buy the Bhagavad Gita. That's the result of doing this festival year after year after year. People have their own pace. We're here to facilitate them at whatever pace they've come. Many of them come to the tents, and from there on, Krishna will guide them. So this is our cooking demonstration tent. Also very popular. Everyone loves to eat. And nowadays I think people are more conscious about what they eat for their own personal health and also for the environment. What we eat affects the environment as well. So they take this cooking demonstration tent very seriously. They come and they listen. We have very expert cooks. We cook. We go through several recipes with them here, and they listen very attentively. And then we offer the prasadam in front of them, and then whatever was cooked is distributed to the audience. They get to taste it and experience it for themselves. So this is jam-packed all evening. And our ladies, our Vaishnavis, are very expert cooks because we've been blessed over the years to have many of ISKCON's most famous cooks come and visit us. B.B Govinda Mahārāja, Yamuna Devi and Dinatarini, they came, spent 2 weeks with us many, many years ago. Yamuna shared philosophy and kirtan, and she taught the girls how to cook. Kurma, the famous cook Kurma Das from Australia, he came and taught us to cook. So people know us in Poland also because of our prasadam. One man said to me one time, he met me, said, I know you people, I know your religion. Let's see, what's it called? It's called the kitchen religion. That's okay, because prasadam, again, is so important. And over here, we have our restaurant, which is also packed. You can see the lines there. People coming for prasadam. They just love to eat. And our cooks are cooking from 4 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning, 6 hours for the restaurant. We cannot cook enough. We sell about 500 samosas plus other things every evening. We just can't keep up the pace. We need more mercy, please, Prabhupada. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, give us more mercy so we can facilitate the people's interest in Krishna consciousness. It's almost as if these material bodies cannot keep up with our desire to serve our spiritual master and spread the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shri Bhagavad Prasadam Ki.